to attempt and focus and rearrange whatever space is available to us on fiscal policy, on monetary policy. One of the area for which we already have got legislative and statutory force behind us is the initiative of SIFC. And SIFC is somewhere where the economic revival of 24 million people's future lie. It's agriculture and IT and mines and minerals. So we are trying not just to showcase that, but also focus on its secretariat, try to provide the basis for any future government, which probably would be here in few months, and on which they can build that economic edifice which is required to run a health for the country. At the same time, there are badly structural reforms required which should address the economic woes of the country. The reformation of our land revenue, of FPR, in the manner our power sector is operating. So these are two main where our focus is. And again, we are not trying to create goalposts which are beyond the time span. And also, what we are trying to do over here is to provide some basis for the mid-level reforms would be upon the future government to either take it or refute it.
What can you tell us about these economic initiatives? Pakistan, stabilizing Pakistan's financial situation, and I mean concrete steps. Is your government considering actively acting on moving forward the privatization list and these investments and all in the few months that you're here? And do we have a time frame for that?
Yes, of course. For instance, in the power sector, there are a couple of discos which are on the list. And by the way, there is a broader agreement in different sections of Pakistani governance structure that certain organizations and outfits needs to be privatized. This is one. We may achieve one or two goals to do it or realize it within these 6 months. What we are trying to do over here is that we will start the ball rolling. We'll initiate that process, and the initiation of that process would be demonstrated by one or two privatization acts being realized completely, focusing and bringing more attention on the power sector. And there could be few others outside the power sectors as well. As far as the other initiatives are concerned, we are looking for at least one or two major areas in mines and minerals. We may realize some FDIs in that sector. That is another area which would send a positive sentiment into the market.
Goes to the elections. I know that the ECP is the one responsible for giving us a date for whenever the elections are going to happen. Are you confident the government is going to be here just for the 6 months that you mentioned?
I have not even mentioned 6 months. But anyways.
Just say 6 months in your...
No, it could be.
But you're confident that things will be on time and the limitations, etc., will be done as per the schedule of ECP, and you're not concerned that things will perhaps move forward?
Well, the Constitution to be looked holistically. You cannot do cherry picking in Constitution. And when I say holistically, all the questions in your question or the aspects of your question, shades, they all are answered within Constitution. Do you having a requirement to do delimitation? Yes, it is. Does that delimitation has to be done by the election commission? It has to be done. For how long does that exercise take? It is anybody's guess, but I am pretty much confident it would be within the reasonable framework of time. Could be 1 month, 1.5 months, 45 days. I cannot be the time frame that it has to be exact in terms of hours and seconds. But yes, I do have a approximate sure and comfortable that it would appear and it would look and it would happen in a normal frame of time.
As a follow-up question, when do you anticipate we will find out whether the PTI will be able to run in those elections? And what are your considerations about the importance of allowing them to run or not to run?
I don't have any sort of qualms on any political party, including PTI, that they would be part of the electoral registered political party with the Election Commission of Pakistan. They are constitutionally entitled to field their candidatures in different just like any other political party. I'm even surprised that even this question of in the electoral process, why does it arise? No one has stopping any political party participating in a normal constitutional political process.
What can be done? What would you like to see done on this, particularly in terms of Pakistan?
Are you more focused on what we're going to do on counter-terrorism or Afghanistan-Pakistan relations?
Well, I mean, it's related because Pakistan is saying, as I understand it, that much of Afghanistan and these guys are sort of operating from Afghanistan into Pakistan.
First of all, I think so we should and try to appreciate what is going on our western borders. And this surge in attacks on outfits, either be religious inspired attacks or even ethnic inspired attacks, like the form of BLA and BLM of their associates. One thing which is very important, which has changed the entire landscape, the security landscape of this region, is leftover gadgets by US its allies in Afghanistan, which has implications not just for Pakistan but and very reliable and authentic journalistic literature has been already produced on it. Pakistan is saying it's the literature has been published even in magazines like Foreign Policy and few others. But we do believe challenge which probably was not well thought of, and this is a challenge which needs to be responded. And this is a challenge where we, along with our international partners against the terrorism, need to coordinate, cooperate, and work together. And I believe that in initial briefings to me from the security side, my understanding is that we are already working on that with our partners, be it United States and others, European Union, UK, and the rest of the powers. And this is a problem which has been recognized by anyone and everyone. And these surges are primarily happening because the fighting capacity of these outfits has been enhanced. They are emerging as a new challenge. Pakistan is in the forefront to take this brunt. We have been arguing this for years and years and years when we were accused by our own partners that we are probably having a sort of a double role, or we are not the willing partnership in this so-called war on terror. But we could foresee that a time will come that all these powers will leave this region, and it would be us who would be facing the mess. And this is what is exactly happening to us. It has happened to us in 1989. It has happened to us again in 2021. Do we surrender? Do we just leave it as a planning? We are executing on our own resources. We would reform, when I say we would reform our tax system, it is for the reason we cannot rely on financial assistance to take on our security challenges. We have to raise our own money. And we are doing that. And then spend that money on an area where we can keep our population secure, which is one of the prime responsibility constitutionally of any government. So would we deny the partnership, help and assistance if it is available at a global scale? No, we will not deny that assistance or help. But it should be in the right context, it should be with the right intentions, and we should be viewed as a responsible government which is one against terrorism, which is against radicalization, and which envisions a moderate and inclusive Pakistan. And we, whatever we do here, we do it out of conviction, not out of compulsion.
Yes, actually, it is a follow-up question as well, because I would like to know, because there were some meetings happening about security with the Afghan government, and so how is it, do you feel that there is a kind of comprehension that they are willing to help when it comes to security?
We need to appreciate that when we talk of Afghanistan or even Taliban, they are in a phase of transformation, and I personally feel that room and space should be given to them. Let them settle, let them transform. Meanwhile, whatever best we can achieve by engaging with the multiple layers of that arrangement, we're going to pursue that goal.
You've listed a very long, list of challenges that Pakistan is facing that you also hope to work on. But if governments before you have not been able to deliver when they had a much longer term, what makes you confident that you are going to be able to deal with the immediate challenges?
First of all, I'm confident, and I want to remain confident, that I'm talking about the right issues rather than popular issues. So that sense can be gathered, that what are the core issues which are being faced by the society and the state of Pakistan. Whether I'm successful or not to realize those projected goalposts probably is irrelevant. I'm not here for eternity. I do realize that. And once I'm not there, and if I'm given a limited time span, the only thing which we can do is to talk about the right things. So once you initiate this discourse, it is more or less like a relay race where you would be running and handing over it to another player, and they would carry it forward. So that is the model in our minds, that there would be political players who would benefit from this political discourse, and they may or they may not choose the policies which we are suggesting. But at least this span gives us an opportunity to generate a healthy discourse which we feel is deficient in our polity. Military is providing all the inputs which we are asking them. They are not overstepping even in the slightest manner. There is no sense where I feel that my government is being dictated. Yes, in a couple of areas, particularly security, and some initiative on the economic front. We are working together, we have coalesced, and that is a partnership which is based on willingness. And both the sides, on mutually dignified and mutual respected manner, are communicating with each other. And we do understand, for instance, there was a crisis on Buttergram where few of our children were stuck. At that moment, this thought came to my mind that the provincial disaster management ideally should have been there to rescue those children. So if I wanted to exercise this civil-military imbalanced relationship and apply it in its spirit, I would have lost those 9 children. So the choice was with me that do I approach military to rescue my 9 children or entangle myself in this debate that it would look like as they are overstepping in our governance. So I chose the latter and saved those 9 children. Unfortunately, by design or by default, some of our organizational capacity in terms of governance has compromised themselves, and in that service delivery vacuum, we have to rely on the military institution. So everyone who's interested that they should stop delivering and playing that role, the solution-based approach or the answer lies the enhancement of those organizations and their service delivery. If you do not do that, if you do not focus on performance, we're going to be with this arrangement for next couple of centuries.
I have 2 questions. If we can go back to talking about the crisis with electricity bills. So given the fact that your government has a limited amount of time, one of the things that you could do, in fact there's a growing demand of calling the IPPs to the table and renegotiating the agreements. So is that something specifically that your government is considering? Will you be renegotiating the contracts?
As far as the IPP and our mandate with them, contractual obligations are concerned, the good news is we are discussing it, and we are discussing it thoroughly. How much we have discussed, what we have discussed, we will not bring it into the public domain. We are on a course where we feel that we should find some sort of resolution as everyone feels that they are uneven contracts. Having said this, it should just be enough for the moment that we are in the process.
A question, if I may.
Please.
This is about the Army Chiefs meeting with business leaders a few days ago. I think it was yesterday. So the reports are that he talked about getting 25 billion from the Saudis, and I believe 25 billion from the UAE as well. Is there a time frame for this? Is there more that you can tell us about this, specifically about this coming from the Saudis and the UAE? And if this 25 billion figure is something you can confirm. Thank you.
I do confirm, and in the follow-up of explanation, I would attempt that this is spread probably between 2 to 4 or 5 years. And in this span of time, these projects are to the tune of this amount would be realized, and it is in different sectors, particularly mines and minerals, agriculture, and IT sector.
Question is, you mentioned that the most meetings you've had is on the energy sector. You may have an idea that Pakistan needs to raise gas prices, and there needs to be a quarterly adjustment in the power tariff as well. Are you committed to increasing them?
All these decisions or the specifics would be done once we have the relevant input of the experts, and accordingly it would be announced and it would be known.
My question is about the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Actually, we know that the outgoing former government have already held a celebration of the CPEC's 10th anniversary. I would like to know your government's view on the CPEC or any plan on the CPEC. Second, is there any plan for your government members to attend for the participation on the coming Belt and Road Global Cooperation Summit, which is going to be held in mid-October?
Well, there is no question of not participation of Pakistan on Belt and Road Initiative, be any event which is organized by China. I mean, everyone knows that we have a deep-rooted relationship with China without placement of any incumbency. It is irrelevant in Pakistan who's on this chair. China is a must policy with any government of Pakistan. We look forward to attend any, either it would depend on the level of invitation, but our wholesome participation would be there and would be very conspicuous. Secondly, the CPAC, we view it with a very positive trajectory that it's going to enter into second or third phase of its projection, and we would fully coordinate and cooperate in its maturing phases, and I am pretty much sure it will bring those promised dividends for which it was initially envisioned.
Afghan refugees. After Taliban took over in Afghanistan, there have been a fresh influx of a different type of Afghan population in Pakistan. They have money, they spend, they are not in refugee camps, but many areas of Islamabad and even Rawalpindi, they have converted into Afghan localities. So what do you say about that Afghan refugee, any policy?
Pakistan has shown a largesse and magnanimity for almost 5 decades to their Afghan brothers. There are 3 types of Afghan individuals in this country. One is the registered refugees in the camp, which according to our conventions to the UN different agencies, we are obliged to provide protection to them. There are around 2.8 million people, registered refugees. Then there are people who are occupying our land space in an illegal manner. They're aliens. And then there are people who have gone and they have penetrated our systems of the government, and they are living with identity theft. So there are 3 categories. Government is planning with all the relevant stakeholders, and we are coming up with a policy to this challenge and issue, because it's directly now linked to the kind of new emerging threats which we are facing on the count of terrorism. What would be those measures? It's premature to discuss it on a public forum because it may compromise the operational outcomes of those initiatives. But I can assure you that we have a strategic visibility and clarity on this issue, and we are coming up with a plan no sooner than, I'll leave the time frame. We will come up with a policy.
First question is, what you think about the international community are really want to support Pakistan for the economic cooperation? Is that your feeling, or is it just a conversation? And second one, defense cooperation between Turkey and Pakistan recently, it's going well. Also Saudi Arabia and other countries, which is they are supporting Pakistan too. Now, as we learned, economically the whole support is come. So do you have a feeling that for short term or middle term, some positive changes will come for Pakistan? What is your message for that?
First of all, I do accept that there is a lot of similarities and commonalities between the experiment of Turkey and Pakistan. The Kurdish question is more or less like what we are facing in Balochistan. then what is happening across Syria is what we are experiencing to our next neighbor in Afghanistan. Our quasi-democratic experiment where we have a history of alternate role of governance is again very much similar to the experience of Turkey. But economic trajectory or projection, particularly your placement on the borders of the European continent and your bargain position to negotiate with the so-called membership of EU, which if not has win or given you the membership, at least it rose the living standards and the delivery standards of the Turkish society, that it started competing in a very viable economic manner on its own. And it's an amazing experiment, and there is a lot for us to learn. Yes, there is a lot of talk here in Pakistan on sometime on our economic potential, sometime on our strategic placement, sometime we project probably ourselves as the pivot of Asia. I do hear all these things too. Is it just a talk or from where does we take this new optimist inspiration? One, I take it from my province, from where I come. We've got a Titian belt which is more or less gifted with around, a conservative estimate is around $6 trillion of natural resources, which includes copper and gold, which includes rare earth material. It was already there, so what is new? The new is that we have a economically viable project of Reko, which is happening with the big boys of copper and gold, and it would start working by the end of December. So once it is initiated, it is worth or more or less near $600 to $700 billion worth project. The two holes, which is H11, H14, is around 3 square kilometer width and around 4 square kilometer length, which has these deposits based on scientific evidence and data, and it has turned the value of that mud into $700 billion. So it was there, but the scientific evidence was not available, so we couldn't claim that it is that much ore. Now this is new. The surrounding areas, we have got partners who has the financial capacity to invest and explore and do all the required seismic surveys and the drillings and bring it into a viable economic model. So can those country or groups on the basis of their financial capacity can do it on their own? No. For instance, Saudis, or for instance, Emiratis, or others. So they have to club in with the technical expertise, maybe Canadian, maybe Chilean, maybe Australian, maybe Americans. And this model is actually happening, and at an extended level, the players outside the region have also started realizing, and a stake, though an indirect one, is being created in the economic model of Pakistan. So we are hopeful that all these stakeholders or the players, which we would be having some sort of stakes in the exploration of all these projects, would start viewing Pakistan with a very different prism. And once these legitimate economic interests are there, they would be interested in our economic stability, and they would love to see a secure and protected Pakistan, not just for itself, but for the whole of the region. And the kind of negative perception and negative press which usually we had for many years and years and years My anticipation is that it's going to change, and it's going to change slowly, gradually, depending that how consistent we are on pursuing all these goals. And if we are there, consistent at least for 2 years or so, my own assessment is the entire branding and rebranding of Pakistan would transform.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to attend this meeting. Excellency, I have 2 questions. First one, how your government see the priorities with regards to Russia-Pakistani relations? This is first. And second, with regards to the crude oil deal. As I think 3 weeks ago, appeared several speculations that Pakistani refinery factories have stopped refinery activity over the already purchased Russian crude oil. Is that true? And what actually your government is planning with regards to this issue? Thanks.
I luckily in my last few months in the parliament, I had the chance to visit Russia twice. I was there in Moscow and St. Petersburg. I interacted with a few think tanks over there. And the third, Rome is beautiful. I was mesmerized by St. Petersburg. It's a beautiful city, no doubt about that. Russia is a major and important player in the region. And we do take in account its military and economic potential. And how does it has implications for its initial orbit of influence, which probably is Central Asia, and then its strategic presence in the Eastern Europe too. It's not just that, but it has a sizable presence in Middle East and North Africa. So we do see in the right measurement the actual placement of the Russia where it should be. Pakistan explores and seeks new venues of a very fresh start, which is not linked where we do not dwell in the past. We do understand that Russian Federation carries the legacy of post-Soviet Union, but it definitely is not a Stalinist or Marxist tradition which it is carrying. Yes, Russian Federation has its own idea of identity, and we appreciate and understand that, and we want to have a very constructive relationship with them. As far as the crude oil is concerned, our infrastructure of refinery was not based on the model where we could import and refine a lot of Russian oil. So this is one of the impediment. There is no policy hindrance to have oil get imported from Russia. So we are exploring not just the oil trade and other areas also where we can have some constructive relationship with Russia. Thank you.
अक़वामी मीडिया के नुमाइंदगान से गुफ्तगू कर रहे थे। उन्होंने कहा कि किसी भी जमात को आईनी अमल में हिस्सा लेने से नहीं रोका जा सकता। उन्होंने भी कहा कि अपने शहरियों के तहफ़्फ़ुज़ के लिए तमाम इक़दाम हम कर रहे हैं। हमारी कोशिश है कि कानूनी और मादनियात में बैरूनी सरमायाकारी ला सकें। आलमी बरादरी को हमें एक ज़िम्मेदार मुल्क की हैसियत से देखना चाहिए। उन्होंने कहा कि PTI समेत तमाम जमातों की तरह इंतखाबात में हर जमात को हिस्सा लेना चाहिए।
आशूब चशम मर्ज एक से दूसरे शख्स में मुंतकिल होता है। मुतासरा शख्स अपना तौलिया, तकिया और साबुन न लग रखे ताकि ये मर्ज दूसरों में मुंतकिल ना हो।
अभी सब्सक्राइब करें ताकि कोई खबर रह न जाए।